Let me ask you a question. How do you view life? To you, is life essentially just a bunch of routines that you have pretty much locked in place and now you just continually do day after day after day? Or do you see life as this big grand adventure that's almost endless with possibilities for things to explore, do, see and discover? Well, in today's video, we're going to look at how viewing life from the latter as an explorer, as this grand adventure for us to just go out and explore, can actually fill your life with these beautiful, magical moments and really make your life extraordinary. So stick around. Now, this idea of viewing our life as this grand, great adventure for us to go on isn't something new. It's been around for probably as long as humans have been around telling stories. One of the greatest examples, I think, of this idea in action is from the movie with Ben Stiller called The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, which was adapted from a short story, but I like the movie a bit better. So in this movie, Ben Stiller's character is an editor at Life magazine, the famous Life magazine. But he lives a quite mundane life. Okay, so he just wakes up, goes to work, goes home, wakes up, goes to work, goes home. But during the day, we see him have these vivid daydreams of him, being the hero, saving someone from an exploding building. We see him going on all these grand adventures inside his head. And then we realize when he gets to work, he's always overlooked. He's kind of the guy no one looks at, no one is interested in, or anything like that. And then what happens is, there is this famous photographer, and he sends these photographs to Walter Mitty to, get them on the front cover of Life magazine and whatnot. But there's one missing negative, and there's a note saying that this is the cover, and it's a missing negative. And Walter Mitty wants to find this negative, okay? But the only way to find it is to find the photographer. So now Walter Mitty has a decision to make. Is he going to go with another photo, or is he going to try and track down this nomad photographer who's a bit of a maverick? He doesn't have a phone, no one knows where he is. He just goes off and captures these beautiful, beautiful photos. Luckily, Walter Mitty chooses the latter. So he goes off on this grand adventure. He travels the world. He goes to Greenland. He goes to a few other places. I can't exactly remember the movie. But he goes on these crazy, crazy adventures. He gets into a helicopter with a drunk pilot to go save these fishermen off the coast of Iceland. He goes skateboarding down these volcanic hills in Iceland, and he just goes on all these amazing adventures that he never thought would be possible for him. These were the kind of things that he used to sit around daydreaming about, but now he was actually living. Okay. And then it ends with him in the Himalayas, or I don't know if it's the actual Himalayas, but it's some kind of snow-covered mountain where he actually finds the photographer who's trying to capture the elusive snow leopard for his photographs. But the main point of the story is how Walter Mitty took the courage to step out of his life of daydream, out of his life of just the mundane, monotonous, go to work, go home, go to work, go home, and feeling unfulfilled in his life. He decided to say screw it, and he went out into the real world and created his own adventures for himself. And this is what made his life more magical, more beautiful, and just a great experience for him to live. And we can do the same, and we owe it to ourselves to do the same as Walter Mitty, to go out, view life as a grand adventure, and just have all these crazy, crazy experiences. So how can we be a bit more like Walter Mitty in our own lives? Well, I think the first thing that we need to do is start being curious again. Okay, we need to embrace our curiosity. The mere fact that we're alive and we have consciousness to be able to just look into things and explore things and just be aware that we're actually aware and that we're alive is just mind-boggling in itself. And there's so much we can explore, so much we can just fall into these crazy rabbit holes that, like, for other people may seem crazy, but for you might be the greatest exploration you ever go on. Okay, if we look at some examples from history, take a look at, say, Christopher Columbus. So no matter what you think about him, whether he was a villain, whether he was a hero, that doesn't really matter. If we look at the way he viewed life, he kind of just said, screw it, I'm going to go out west from Europe and I'm going to explore, see what I find. This was also back at a time when people were still confused whether the world was round, whether it was flat, whether he was just going to fall off the edge, whether there was anything out there. Okay. But this was a guy who just said, well, you know what? Why not? And he did it. So this is the first thing we need to do. Understand that there's so much to be explored. Even if someone else has explored it before, you haven't. You don't have first-hand experience. It's like we know that, well, okay, some people might not believe it, but if you believe that we went to the moon, just because Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin have walked on the moon and taken photos and that kind of thing, does that mean that if you were given the chance to go to the moon, you wouldn't, because it's already been explored? This is the same reason why travel's so beautiful, okay? Many people have traveled all over the world. People live in all different regions of the world, but you haven't experienced it. So every time you experience something new, it adds that flavor and it adds that little bit of magic to your life. So remember, stay curious. Whatever you're curious about as well, okay? It doesn't need to make sense to anyone else. You can explore space. You can explore the depth of the ocean. You can explore the little pond that's near your house. You can explore your inner self as well, you know? It's limitless. Outwards it's limitless and inwards it's limitless. You can just keep exploring, keep finding new things to be excited about in life. And then the second thing we can also do is break from conformity. Okay, I think the reason a lot of people feel that their life kind of gets stagnant or they kind of stop growing is because they start to conform to these societal roles, essentially. Now, there's a lot of things about the Matrix trying to keep you prisoner and all that kind of stuff, which I think is just fear-mongering, and I don't really believe in it. But I think we do it to ourselves. We trap ourselves in. If you start a career, let's say like Walter Mitty, he used to check the photos, edit the photos, and then try and pick the ones that would go on the cover of Life magazine. And so that's how he identified. That's just what he did every day. Anything outside of that, he may have done in holidays or whatever, but he resorted to daydreaming. Okay, because he said, well, I just work in the basement of Life magazine. I can't have these adventures. But this is a prison he put himself in. No one else was really keeping him in there. There wasn't some kind of cabal making him stay in the basement doing that work. It's just that he had got into this frame of thinking that this is what I have to do, this is my job, so on and so forth. But we can break free of that, okay? And it's not just what we identify with, like our job. We should also break away from conformity of ideas and thinking, okay? Think about all the greatest people that have moved us forward in great areas of thinking, okay? You look at Darwin, who came out with the theory of evolution. Now, that really went against the church. It made a lot of people angry. It was a scary kind of thing. People were still saying that it makes no sense, okay? But regardless, he went against conformity, and now we all know who Charles Darwin is and what he gave to the world of science. Same with people like Copernicus, okay, who started to argue against the heliocentric view of the universe. I think that's the correct one. But whichever one it was, that was the Earth, the sun revolving around the Earth and the Earth being flat, to the theory about the Earth being a globe that orbits our sun. And again, these are people that broke away from the conformity of the time. Most people called them crazy. People also condemned them to death. There's another great thinker in that time called Giordano Bruno, who, in fact, was killed because of his non-conformist views. So maybe you don't want to go that far if you don't want to die. But he also said the same thing. He theorized that all the stars in the sky were suns with their own planets orbiting them, and it just went against a lot of the things that in that time the church was saying was fact, and if you go against it, it's heresy. Okay, but he would not conform, and he was right. He was exploring, he was discovering these new things and saying, well, this doesn't add up. So again, there's just so much to explore, that there's so much that we don't know yet. Everything that we know is only what we think we know. Okay, so think about that. Everyone thought that the world was flat until someone found out that it wasn't. If everyone stopped being curious, and if everyone just went along with what that one person had said, we may have never discovered that the world was a globe. Okay, we may have never gone to the moon. There's so many things we may never have done if we didn't have these rebels and these mavericks that stood aside from conformity and just remained curious and kept looking and kept discovering. And another thing we can do is just to try and embrace the magic in the mundane. Okay, so maybe not all of us will be a Christopher Columbus type where we make these brand new discoveries. We won't be Charles Darwin or anything like that. But still, just your day-to-day life is unbelievable if you actually think about it. Okay, we're on this crazy little blue planet that is orbiting the sun, that's hurling through space, that's, going around another giant black hole in the middle of a galaxy that's also traveling at ridiculous speeds through space. Everything about existence is just mind-bogglingly amazing. Okay, so one thing that I was thinking about the other day is just how awesome the engineering of a cat is. Okay, these things are like apex predators, but they're contained in these little things that we keep as pets. But if you really think about it, the engineering of a cat is unbelievable. The backflips they can do, the amount of balance they have, how agile they are, everything about it is just extraordinary. But just by adopting this mindset of an explorer and just looking at any part of your life, you can start to see just how magnificent and how limitless the potentials of understanding, the potentials of diving deep and just really exploring life and finding this magic, this awe of existence, essentially. And what this will also do is just make you more appreciative of being alive. And in that way, you'll start to explore more, and it becomes this positive feedback loop that will just propel you into all these magical moments in life. So what are some actionable steps that we can do to, view life or go through our lives as an explorer? Well, there are just simple things you can do. Try out new hobbies. If you've ever been interested in learning the guitar, learning the piano, learning anything like that, just give it a try. You can also travel to unfamiliar places. This also doesn't need to be international. Okay, I'm sure there are places in your city or in your suburb that you've never visited before. So just go and explore it, see what you can find. Try new foods, learn new skills, okay? Or simply just changing your daily routines. Maybe take a new way to work. Just understand that there are just countless, infinite possibilities for your life. There's infinite choices that you can do, and infinite things you can look to explore. So embrace that. Remember, remain curious, break away from conformity, and just search for those little magical moments in your life every single day. Realize that you get to make the rules. It's really your life. As long as you're not hurting anyone or breaking any laws, just go do whatever you want. It's your life to explore. And with that, guys, I'm going to end the video there. So if you found anything useful from this video, please consider subscribing. It would help me out a lot. But also, most importantly, leave a comment. So is there any adventure that you've wanted to go on for a long time that you're now going to start taking steps towards? Or do you have any tips or tricks that can help someone else kind of step out of their routine and start to embrace life as an explorer? And lastly, please like the video and share it with anyone that you think might gain anything from this video. But until next time, guys, I'm going to end the video now. So please, seize the day and make your life extraordinary. It's your life. Live it the way you want to live it. And until next time,